And I just figured people had shitty hearing.
Yeah.
But then I listened to myself on the podcast and I was like, oh.
You talk fast. You have a lot of energy. You like try to contain it. That's what I think when we.
Oh really?
Yeah. Is that Is there an effort?
I think definitely when I'm performing, I like performing because it's a place that I can put all my energy. Yeah. I feel like my energy is a lot of this. I know for the camera that's kind of weird. Sit back and relax while I take you on a journey of failure and missed opportunity.
So are those the headlines? Failure, missed opportunity? Is it missed opportunity or tried and failed?
No, I think honestly, I'm kidding. But I think, one, the definition of famous is...
That's good too.
Broad.
Go whenever that, go there.
But I'm definitely, whatever your definition is, I'm definitely not that. I had an acting teacher in college who told me that the way to really make it in this business is to be cast in a hit. And that's true, but I have been cast in a hit, and I think it's also really important to make sure that the part is a good fit for you. And you have to star in that hit. Like the first telenovela I did was a massive, massive, massive hit, and I had a very small role in it. So when I would walk around while I was on TV, people would recognize me, but they wouldn't know my name, and I didn't get like a huge following on social media. And I also think that Mexican soap operas were a really bad fit for my skill set.
Right.
Like I worked really, really hard to get good at acting on soaps, and I reached a point where I was auditioning against girls who were very famous for very big parts, and I just wasn't getting them.
For other telenovelas?
Yeah, because telenovelas only run one season.
All
telenovelas only run one season? Yeah, I should probably explain that first.
Why not?
First one I did was 9 months long and was like a massive, huge worldwide smash. Like everybody that started on that show is a lot of them work now in the U.S. And so that was like a really, really huge blow up. But my part was really small, and I just wasn't that good at soap opera acting.
That was your first one?
That was my very first one. And from there, I was able to work. Like even though it was a really small role, I got another one right away, and I got a little bit of a bigger part in that, and then I got another one after that. Pretty quickly, and my part was like a little bit bigger, but then I started to audition a lot for like very, very big parts, like parts where you're like, wow, this could change my life if I get this. And even for American stuff, like I started getting really big opportunities, but I just don't think my skill set was there, and a lot of the parts that I was auditioning for, I wasn't the right fit for. Like everything American that I would audition for, they only wanted me to do Latin roles, but I was obviously too white to play whatever Latina girl that they would want me to play. And then on the soaps, you have to be able to cry for real.
I remember you telling me that.
In 5 seconds, and I just can't do that.
So what'd you do?
I would put vapor rub all over my hands. So I would be doing a scene, because I wouldn't have time to like listen to Radiohead and like get in character. These girls, they can be talking like this and like texting, and it'll be 3, 2, 1, cut, and like tears. I physically can't do that. I tried everything. I tried putting like onions and jalapenos under my nails. That didn't work. I tried all kinds of like weird rubbing in my eyes and like hurt myself. And I smelled like onions a lot. I tried everything. And then once when I was doing the vapor rub scene with this like hot telenovela actor guy, I'm like doing this and crying, and then he like grabs my hands at the end, he like grabs my hands, like telling me like I love you or whatever, and he grabs them and he just like, he was like, ew, what the fuck? I got caught.
Pero Mariano solo tiene ojos para Teresa. Teresa es una basura y tú deberías.
The whole soap opera, what do you want to call it, tangent, was maybe a little bit born out of like a crisis of confidence.
I think a crisis of confidence and also a crisis of the recession. Because I graduated in 2008, so there was like actual financial crisis.
Yeah.
So I was having a crisis, and the world was also having a crisis.
Yeah.
Because I graduated a little bit early. So I graduated in December 2007. Right after I graduated, I got a job as a PA for MTV News, and I was like really climbing the ranks pretty quickly there. But by January 2009, they shut down MTV News Los Angeles. So everybody got laid off because that was like the height of the financial crisis, and the entertainment industry was like the first thing to go. So like LA at that time too was like nobody had work. It was like really, really, really bad. And then I went on vacation once to Brazil, and I was out of work. I'd been out of work for like, this was in 2010, so I'd been out of work for like a year. And I was on a bus, and I heard these two guys behind me talking like producers. And I just did that thing where I turned around on the bus and was like, you guys are producers? I'm an actress. Like that you could only do when you were a 23-year-old asshole.
What's going on back here?
Yeah. And then over the course of the week, we were all in the same tour group. And one of them was like, I like you. Come audition for my TV show in Mexico. I was like, okay. And then I did, and then I got it. And then that telenovela was a hit. And then one thing led to another.
Yeah. Were you, when it was a huge hit and you were getting recognized on the street, were you like, I'm on the right track? Or were you always like, no?
No, I freaked out. I mean, I'm really neurotic. So I was mostly negative about it. Because I was like,
felt like you're on the right track.
Well, because I wasn't good at, oh, I just hit my mic. I wasn't good at the job. Like I was getting yelled at all the time by directors and stuff because I was so new to the whole way that was done, and a guy talking in my ear and repeating, and it was so much pressure, and I was like suddenly around all these people.
Was there ever a time when you were like, maybe this is the way and not comedy, or did you always in the back of your head was like, not gonna get back to that?
Not until I started doing stand-up.
Okay.
Like even when I was doing soaps, I think I got more confident because I worked really, really hard to get much better. Like I trained my memory to get lines really quickly, which has served me really well. But things like that, like, other actors would go home and like I would stay late and talk to the director, and I would never bring my phone to set. And I would just like really put 110%. And then the first time, once I moved here and I did stand up the first time, I was like, why haven't I been doing this the whole time? I was like, this is the right fit. I don't have to deal with authority. I can design my own part. I can explain why I look like this and speak Spanish. I can talk about my life. And I can do shows as often as I want. And
let it all out.
And people are laughing. So I am funny. And so that's why I just really started like really rolling after that.
That was a couple years ago.
Yeah. And then that's when I started like writing even more for my job. And I marketed myself pretty exclusively for my job, that I only do comedy. I started doing all these sketches with you, and now I'm like trying to make up for lost time. So if you don't have a fight in you and it's really uncertain, I think it's really easy to want to quit. And I think even if somebody's funny, sometimes you just can't afford to do that either financially, or you just don't have the energy, or you're like, I don't want to live this like really uncertain, crazy, random lifestyle. Like, how do you know when does this change? I even had a friend of mine back when I was working at MTV and like the crisis hit, and he was a really talented camera guy and producer. And I remember we're sitting in the back of a car one day, and he's got like a big camera in his hand, and we just had interviewed who knows what celebrity, and he was like, this is crazy. This doesn't make any sense. There's no track. He was like, I was always pretty good at science. Maybe I should be a doctor. And now he's a pediatrician. Because there's not a track. And so I think it's really scary for people to look and be like, I don't know where my life is going. I have a family to support, or, I want a nice roof over my head, or I'm sick of, living this life where it's like I'm totally self-starting and it's like me against the world. Because it is a little bit, comedy is a little bit like you against the world for 5 minutes of glory, or 15 minutes if you're lucky of glory, or maybe an hour of glory. So I think it's for a bunch of reasons, but I think a lot of it is just because of the uncertainty, I would say, is the biggest one. Writing is like a puzzle. It's so fun to like, when you get it right, like when you have to rearrange and and suddenly you like, when you're doing a script, like you move that scene here and put this person in that scene, and suddenly like you solve a ton of problems. Or like in stand-up, you change 2 words in your punchline and suddenly you get a huge laugh. Like that really for me is like, that's challenging, but not the kind of challenging where you're like, how am I going to figure this out? It's the kind of challenging where it's hard, but I know I can do it. And so that feels really good. And then performing, I think I'm just like a narcissist. I need the attention.
Well, performing, it starts and ends the story. Like when you're writing, you start it and you don't know if it'll ever.
That's
and
that's
when you
hard.
perform, it's like, all right, I did this. I went through a whole cycle of this.
Yeah, that's hard for me with writing, is like just letting my writing go. I'm not very good at that.
Right.
Like just being like, here, take this and do whatever you want.
I can't.
I can't.
Does your stuff occur to you Or do you have to sit there and wrestle, like find a joke, like make one up?
No, it occurs.
Right?
Yeah, sitting, that never works.
Never.
I've tried so many times to like sit on the couch and be like,
You gotta have
and be like, yeah, this little, but no, it occurs to me and I'll write on my phone. And then when I sit on my couch is like solving it, because I'll get like an idea and I'll write down the idea and then I'll sit on my couch and like how to word it so that it works.
It's just one word difference that you screw up.
It's so subtle. It's such tiny stuff and it changes the whole joke.
Yeah. Do you think?
No, I don't think it's a failure, but it's just like, you know, I'm trying to.
You want to know
I want to work more.
Yeah.
And I want to be like, you know, I've been around people that have been wanted in the industry, and I've never been like fielding offers. Like I'd love to be at a point where I'm fielding offers, and everyone's like, "Oh, have you heard about that girl Elena Torres? We should hire her for this." Like I've never been in that.
So you've seen too much of it.
I've seen that, and I would like that. Like I've been around that.
Instead
of being that one that's like, "Please give me a job. Please give me a job." Like it would be really nice to be on the other side. So I think all the time, why am I not on the other side? You know, and how am I going to get to the other side? I mean, it's all. I mean, I live it, I breathe it, because I'm also, like I said, trying to make up for lost time.
Lost time, yeah.
And I've been, you know, I've been around and close to the absolute like top of the industry before. So I've like seen so much.
I think that obviously the most obvious trite thing you could say is that talent's not enough, right? That's
it's
like
not
the
enough.
most obvious thing.
Oh, it's absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely not enough.
Yeah. So
I
then
mean,
beyond that, are there whatever Jim Carrey's and like Jerry Seinfeld's and Larry David's out there, and who are both talented and pushing as hard as they can, and it doesn't matter.
I think there are people like that. I think they stop pushing. I think you have to push and push and push and push. And eventually, if you're as good as a lot of those people, it can work, but you have to find something that's the right fit. Like, that's what creates a hit. Comedy, one of the things I love about it, like stand-up, is that no matter what those people say, if you're making a room laugh, like, there's only so long that someone can deny it. You just have to really be in it for the long term. You know, like any great comedian will be like, you just got to keep going and just crush it every single time. And not like be kind of funny. You just got to crush rooms every time. And if a producer is like backstage and tells you like, sorry, we're going to go with this guy, and then you go on stage and there's roaring laughter, like what are you going to do? If everybody's laughing, it's because you're really funny.